But there she is. Wave back.
Hi.
So good to see you. We're so happy to have you here. We're so blessed. And we've got more people than we ever have, all out of love for you and appreciation for your courage and your modeling of choosing love, the choice, and of course, what a gift you are to the entire world and to us. And we just want to thank you so much. And we appreciate you so much for being with us.
Well, we show up for each other and we cannot change the past. And what happened, we can hopefully empower each other and grieve and feel and heal. And it's a lifelong journey.
I know that you've had a loss. You lost someone that you love very much recently, and I wanted to acknowledge that. And I want you to know how sorry I am. There are no words for that kind of loss, but I do want to acknowledge it.
Thank you very much. And I want to be there for you as well, knowing that suffering makes us stronger. And hopefully we are here to show up for the loss and keep each other company.
Absolutely. We're all in this together.
All in this together. It's called life. And the attitude that you choose. It's about what you think, that's what you create. And I know that you are showing up for each other day or night. And here we are again today. I just spoke to a group called the Wednesday group. And these are women who belong to a Wednesday club. And they there for a long, long time. And it was nice to see how women really, really understand when spoken to. You don't have to repeat yourself, you know, you click right away. You don't have to talk to each other in long sentences, you know, one word does it.
Yeah, there's just that connection.
So the person who died, how old was that person?
Well, you know, my son was 6 years old,
Yes.
and yeah.
So the way I would like you to consider looking at it, that spirit was sent to you for 6 years.
There's no doubt.
And that spirit wants you to have a good life. Would that make better sense than you say, I lost somebody? You know, life is not about losing or winning. It's about that spirit that was sent to you for that many years. And that's what I am doing. That spirit was sent to me for 6 years. A dancer who only knew how to dance 2 to the right and 2 to the left and then turn around. And that's it. That was his repertoire. And yet he was an engineer, so he always wanted to know whether it's a rumba or a samba or a cha-cha. And it didn't matter because he only knew how to do things one way. And so I used to throw out the word, but I knew that I'm gonna get what he knows and two to the right, two to the left, and turn around and then start the same thing all over again. But this child was sent to you so you can celebrate every moment was sent to you.
Absolutely. And you know what, Edie, I more and more, I think that we are here on earth to learn from the difficulty that we face
Yeah.
and to grow through it, to be strengthened by it, as you say, and then to take what we've learned and use it to help other people. Is there any other reason that we're here?
We can figure it, and we're gonna figure it wrong. You know, there's so many things we just need to surrender and accept and live in the present.
Definitely need to live in the present now with so much going on in our world and seemingly so many questions that we have unanswered. And you can either take a fearful path and be anxious, or you can, as you say in your first book, you have a choice. So you can choose, we call it love, and enjoying yourself, which you certainly were able to do after your incredible journey of being with your sister in a concentration camp and everything that you all endured, and then choosing to make a beautiful life for yourself, which you have and do to this day.
I will never regret any moment. I think there is a difference between remorse and regret.
Oh, yeah.
You want to think about that?
Yeah. Mhm.
That's
How
a really
was
good point.
This is what I thought she's saying.
How was your pregnancy with this child?
It was wonderful. I had
It
a
was
great pregnancy with Jesse. It was fantastic. I was healthy the entire time. I enjoyed it. I was grateful. And he was born 11 pounds.
4 ounces, right?
11 pounds, I think, total.
Oh, I thought, okay.
Yes, Jesse. Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse.
Tell the nurse story.
Jesse. And you know, the first time I saw Jesse, I walked up to the nurse's station because he was a C-section. So they just kind of showed me his face and then they whisked him away. So I walked to the nurse's station. All these nurses are gathered around the window taking pictures. I walk up behind them. I say, "What are you taking pictures of?" They say, "There's this enormous baby and he's crawled down to the bottom of his bassinet and he's trying to get out of his bassinet at less than 24 hours old." And so that was Jesse, this enormous baby. If you think about an 11 pounder next to a 6 or 7 pounder, crawling all the way down, trying to crawl out of his bassinet, and then just flat out, so tired, smashed up against the end of his little bed. And that was Jesse his whole life, squeezing every ounce of fun and joy out of life that he possibly could, and bringing us all along for the ride.
He can still be our leader, how to have joy and passion for life.
He is.
And he is. He absolutely is.
He knew he was here and he's limited, and so he had to squeeze out all the marrow from the bone. Yes.
You know, he left a message right before he died. He wrote on this little note and he folded it up and put it on his big brother's desk. And his big brother found it when he came back to the house after Jesse's murder. And it said, "Have a lot of fun." And so that's really been our directive thinking that that was Jesse's last message and that that was what he wanted us to do. So that's what we're doing.
Maybe we want to talk about the difference between revenge and forgiveness. Because you may fight for the injustices of it all, and you seek revenge. And then you understand that revenge is very temporary. And forgiveness gives you the freedom that you give to yourself and consider it a gift to you. It's not about me forgiving you for killing my son. It's about acknowledging that I'm human and I choose not to live in hate.
Dr. Eger, I was just going to say, it kind of reminds me of when you're talking a lot about how you can't change people. And some people in your therapy sessions want to come in and say, I want to change my partner. You know, he doesn't do this, she doesn't do that. And it kind of reminds the same thing of like just the letting it go. And how do you let it go? And when things don't go your way, you know, big things, small things, how do you still continue every day to forgive and accept that?
You just realize that life is about holding on and letting go. And leave it there.
Wow. It's true.
I live in a present. I can only touch you now. The past is gone, the future is not yet. And you will ask yourself, how is it benefiting me? How can I live a full life? Because part of me can trigger the past, even today. I remember one time I went to Costco and I was told to park in the back because I had a dog in the back. And then when I parked in the back, I noticed a barbed wire. And immediately I was triggered. And I was back in Auschwitz.
Wow.
And then I reached in my pocket and I realized that I had a blue American passport and I'm at Costco and I'm here and every moment is now my choice. Whether you choose to be a victim or the victimizer, because many times we look at the victim as being weak and the victimizer being strong. So part of the psyche identifies with the aggressor. I see that with couples. One is the victim, one is the victimizer. And they go back and forth and back and forth. A victim becomes the offender becomes the victim. And that's their game. So I don't know where you are, because I'm sure you have the two questions I bring up. And one is, when did your childhood end? And the second question, would you like to be married to you? So you want to think about, are you fun? Are you fun to be around? Are you a girl who is looking for the gifts and everything and never forget, but not to live in the past? Because there is one thing we cannot change, is the past.
Dr. Eger, too, I also saw in your book, one of the life lessons is that you said you grow through the trauma, the pain that you have, and it should be almost like a learning experience, what you went through. Do you continually carry that with you every day, that, no matter what you go through? I know you've been through so much, but even day to day, if you go through something, do you feel like every negative thing that maybe happens is a learning experience that you can grow from?
I think the more choices we have, the less we ever gonna feel like the victim of anything or anyone at any time. I don't have time to be a victim. I don't have time to hate, because while I hate, I'm still a prisoner. One of the things I talk about, that mothers hold their child and fathers have a different relationship. It's more competitive because the son looks at father and decides that I'm going to be just like him when I grow up, or I'm going to be everything he's not. Can you relate to that? Maybe it's in your family. So he grows up and he's sad, I'm going to be a psychologist, even though my father wants me to be $1 million businessman. No problem, because you give up the need for your father's approval. But when you say, I'm never gonna be like him, you're still wanting to prove something. And while you want to prove anything, you're still a prisoner. So you want to really think about your thinking, because what you think, you create. Very important. So you're so young, honey. Tell me about how old are you and where do you see yourself in your life 10 years from now?
Me, yeah, I that's a great question. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know I just want to help people. I think that's always been something that's always been part of who I am. And there's two people in the world, you can be a helper or not. And I just always have gone back to that, because why are we here on this earth? And it's to serve and to make the world better.
But everything begins and ends with you.
That's true.
Do you love you?
That's a hard question sometimes. Some days yes, some days no. But I think we're our harshest critic, and I loved all this what you're writing about on criticizing and how criticism doesn't help you, doesn't help others either. It just kind of creates a cycle. So that really stood out to me.
I love you. I love on page 187 in your book, you said, this baby is you. Say, I'm here. I live for you. And you said that you should love look in that mirror and say every day, I love you. And I think we lose that in our day-to-day lives with work and pressure and stress and the pandemic. And I think we sometimes lose sight of that, we're our own person. We live in our minds, as we are self-talk inside our heads. And we need to really do that, like they say, self-care and self-love more often.
Yes, self-dialogue can really change your whole life. The way you think about and the way you talk to yourself can change your whole body chemistry. So get rid of 2 words, always, never. I always do that. I'm never gonna find a good man. Get rid of those 2 words and replace it. Up till now I did this, and now I'm gonna do something else. So you're switching gears in a car, but then you release the clutch. You gotta give up something and replace it with something else when you change, and change is growth. When you change, you grow. So I hope that the COVID is changing us, that we're not going back. We have a new beginning. And we can be good parents to ourselves. Jesus was telling us, love thy neighbor, love thyself. He was also very good at meeting people where you are. So when he talks to a 6-year-old, he is going to speak the language of a 6-year-old rather than using big words like cognitive dissonance. I usually, they don't know that word. It's very important. The most important is that when he said turn the other cheek, he's not saying go back and do the same thing 100 times more. I think what he's really saying to us, look at the same situation from a different perspective. So I could be today your ophthalmologist because I can talk to you about Auschwitz as an opportunity to develop my inner strength, to know that life is from inside out and not waiting for someone to come and liberate you. So think about your thinking. I beg of you, it can really change your future.
So Wendy has her hand up.
Okay, Wendy, you're on.
Hi, everyone. I'm Wendy from Belize. This is my first time joining the club, and it's going pretty well. Yeah,
Please.
I finally got in. So,
Yay.
Dr. Eger, I have a question. I practice meditation and I'm also a mindful teacher. And I heard you talk about surrendering. And for me, I want to know, how do you truly surrender, as a human and be in the now? So that's my question that I really want you to answer.
That's a very, very good question. And the answer is, the past is gone. The future has yet to come. And the only thing you can change is the present. That's why we call it a present. It's the here and now. I can change my thinking, my feeling, and my behavior. So I've been to South Africa. I went to 3 safaris. I was staying in a place called Landalozi.
She's not from South Africa. She's from, no, actually Central America, right? Belize is in Central America.
Yes, we're in the Caribbean.
Yes. Sorry
That's
about
okay. That's okay.
That's a big
that.
difference.
Yes.
But I've been to South Africa and I went to 3 safaris. I have yet to be in South America. And the person that I would like to meet is the one who danced the tango in a movie called The Scent of a Woman.
Oh,
Oh, who
Yeah.
was that?
oh, I could ask Bob.
He
That's Al
danced
Pacino.
Yeah,
Al Pacino.
Al Pacino.
Right.
yeah,
the
yeah.
tango is absolutely the best. Full of feelings. Do you feel any feelings? Because it takes permission.
You know who can dance the tango?
Thank you for answering.
Thank you, honey. You're very beautiful.
I think, I think Connie had a comment or question before, maybe?
Yeah, it's funny because I was gonna ask about the whole turn the other cheek and she brought it up. So I just want to say thank you very much, Dr. Eger. I had a whole conversation with one of my dear friends about that. She's listening also tonight. And we had never thought about it that way when Jesus says, turn the other cheek. We always took it literally growing up. And reading it in your book, thank you very much. That was a gift. Learning it another way and really seeing it from another perspective, really. So I really thank you, and thank you for answering it before I even asked it.
Yes, and you are actually a good parent to you. You know what will empower you. You know when you don't sleep enough, you're not going to be so well equipped to face the day. That needs are different from wants. Needs are things without which we cannot survive. You know, we need to eat, we need to sleep, we need to eliminate, and I think it's very important for us to really be good, protective parents to ourselves. And I hope you get up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, I love me.
Thank you.
Self-love is self-care. It's not narcissistic. We say
Thank you.
many times there. You're welcome. I like your hair color. It's well,
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
very, very becoming.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Connie's in Canada. And, you know, I think when you talk about self-care, that's become such a buzzword now, especially in COVID. Everybody's talking about self-care and doing that. But what does that mean to you? I mean, what does that really look like? Authentic self-care.
To listen to myself, because your body always talks to you. When I feel tired, I know that I will look how to put myself to bed for a few minutes, even for a few hours, to rest, because our body talks to us and the body never lies. I think it's very important, because if you don't listen to our body, you may wake up with a headache and a stomach ache, and your body will talk to you. I think it's good to listen to our body. The body never lies.
I just want to interject that Dr. Eger talks about loving yourself too, not just self-care, that self-love is part of self-care, that caring for yourself is going to be difficult if you don't love yourself. And that's a distinction that we make around here, huh?
I think that's a great distinction. And I think that that's part of self-awareness. And that's one of the most important social and emotional skills that you can learn, because you're not really born with it. And that is all about being aware of what you're feeling. You were talking about, you know, do you accept what you feel? Do you indulge in what you feel? I mean, just accept it and move through it and be strengthened by it. Do you love yourself for that? And I know that maybe it's also a part of getting older and going through difficulty and having your body get you through it. But, you know, I just, you know, when I was younger, I never liked my body. I never was good enough. And now I look at myself in awe and I just go, oh, every day, like, oh, I love you so much. You just have always been there for me. Thank you for rising to the occasion. And I don't even treat you that well, but you're always there for me. You're always getting me out of bed when I wake up and doing everything that I need to do. It just amazes me.
Tell me about your support system.
Yeah, I have a good support system. My mom's sitting here and we're on the same wavelength. We're on the same energy
Mhm.
length.
We are. Blessing.
Yeah.
So that is
Wait, here, let her go.
To ask for a question. Oh,
yeah.
I had an experience that I thought people might be interested to hear on this topic of sort of self-love. And I consider it a spiritually transformative experience. I had my newborn, my first daughter, in my arms, and she was a couple days old. And I looked at her and thought, she's so precious. I get teary when I think about it. She's so precious. Will I ever stop loving her the way I do now? Will she ever be less precious to me? And so in my mind, I tried to imagine holding her, but her being maybe twice the size. And I thought, nope, she'll still be just as precious. And I, in my mind, moved forward to 2 or 3 years and thought, nope, she'll still be just as precious. And I kept going out further and further and realized she would always be this precious a being, no matter how old she was. And in that moment, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I realized everyone is that precious always, even if they commit an evil act. So I think, you know, in the eyes of God or our creator or whatever you want to consider it, we are all precious and we never cease to be precious. And sometimes it's helpful for me if I'm in a moment, I'm angry with someone's behavior or whatever. I just try to shift my focus to that awareness that we are all precious beings, no matter what we do. And that sometimes lets me or helps me let go of maybe in a situation where I'm angry or caught up in frustration with somebody, is realizing that we're all.
I have a chief psychiatrist who's just turning 60, and I call him Precious. And when the phone rings, I pick up the phone and it's Precious. And no matter how old you are, there'll never be another you. I think you make a very, very good point. Your little girl is going to be a wise woman who's going to have, hopefully, her own little Precious, and that we can take it from generation to generation. I know that your mom also had a Precious from you. You.
She's here now. She did.
About your Precious. And sometimes we moms are not realizing that we cannot give what you don't have. So it's very important that you look in a mirror every morning and say, I love me. And I'm going to spend my day as meaningfully as I can, because in the evening, I'm going to feel satisfied. I know I'm going to feel very, very happy in my deathbed, not asking what the world has given me or done for me. It's what I was able to, hopefully, be at a certain age and still able to get up in the morning and decide what I can give, not what I can get. So there are givers and there are takers. we're all human beings, and hopefully that we can empower each other with our differences, that you can be you, I can be I, and together we're gonna be much stronger. That's what happened in Auschwitz. We had to really care for one another and form a wonderful family of inmates. We all had each other. And if you were just for the me, you didn't make it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Thank you, Edie. That's so powerful. And Tracy and I actually had breakfast this morning. We were talking about how in our country today, we have more than we ever have. We have an abundance. We are surrounded by really more than we could ever ask for. And yet we are the most anxious population that probably more anxious than we ever have been. And what are your thoughts on that? I mean, you know, you lived in a time of war and of imprisonment in a concentration camp, just the worst of the worst situations. And now you see people now, yes, we're going through a pandemic and it's challenging, and there is a fear factor here, but at the same time, we have modern conveniences that we never had, yet we are the most anxious. Why do you think that that is? And what can we do to move through this time and use this time to strengthen us and to create the world that we want to live in?
We're going through the valley of the shadow of death. We don't camp there. You don't get stuck in there. That is the difference. That it's not why me, but what now.
Interesting.
It's, see, you're going through it, and it's temporary, and we can survive it. It's very important to know that anger has to do with your expectations. You want more and you get less. So you have to be realistic rather than idealistic. And because when the idealists come and they don't find exactly what they're looking for, you know that that's when people blame. And while you blame, you're still a child. I think it's very, very important to stop blaming. And as an adult, I still feel like eating a chocolate cake. But if I have diabetes, I know that it's better if I look at it and not allow it. I can chew it, but don't swallow it. I have to count my calories, and knowing that children want one thing, everything. And children want one thing, is everything easy. Children want it easy, and they want it now. So do not spoil your children, because poor children were the first one to die. They were waiting for somebody to come and do it for them. So today I beg parents, don't do for your child what a child needs to do for themselves, even if it takes them an hour to put their shoe on and you take 2 minutes to do it. It's much better, honey, when you acknowledge that the child will never feel that they can really accomplish something, and never say, I'm proud of you. It's better to say, I hope you're proud of yourself. Because the child doesn't have to perform for you. I love you because you brought home a good report card. No, you don't go to school for me. You go to school, hopefully, that you can get a scholarship and go to Stanford, that you have a goal. And that's very important to set a goal. I like to call it an arrow that you follow. And then decide what you're focusing on, that it is really in alignment to get you closer to the goal. I usually talk about that I was on a ship for people who could not afford to go on a boat, and it was called General House. And I noticed that when we went through the English Channel, there was a big storm, and the skipper took off. But then I also noticed that he came back because we had to go from Germany to New York. If he would continue where he was going, we would end up in China or God knows where. So I think it's very good for you, hopefully, to have a goal. And if you want to have a doctorate, go and get it. Because the more people of paper you pick up, the more doors open up for you in America. So get a PhD. When I was 40, my supervisor told me, go get a PhD. And I said, I'm too old. By the time I get a doctorate, I'll be 50 or 60. And he said, you'll be 50 anyway. And I think that is so important that the chronological age doesn't matter to me at 94. I think you have to be old to be young. But I don't have to really have other people's approval of me. Not everybody is going to like me, and that's okay. So give up the need for other people's approval and give up the need to please everyone. It just doesn't work well. When I was at the university, I was giving a lecture and a person got up and walked out. And I said to myself, I'm no good. My accent is bad. No one can hear me well. I was ready to, hang myself. The man just had to go to the bathroom and came back. But by that time, I was already on the guillotine. God is so good because 2 years later, I was at the military hospital with about 5 highly educated psychiatrists. And my lecture was about the victimizer, not the victim. And they were about 900 people in the audience. One person walked out. Same scene. And I said to myself, too bad he's leaving, I'm good.
So good.
So you learn to respond rather than react. Careful that there is a little book I like very much. It's called The 4 Agreements. It's a psychiatrist from Mexico.
Oh.
And one thing it says, don't take it personally and don't assume. I don't know the other two, but I think that's a very little good, very brilliantly written book, and it's small. So see where you are in your life now. What are you wanting to maybe risk? I love that word. That's the best English word, to risk. So if you come to me and I tell you, I'm so happy that you're here and listen to my lecture, and I hope you like to get to know me as friends, Edith, not Dr. Eger. And you know what happens? You tell me that you're not interested. Now look what happened. I asked for what I wanted and I didn't get it. Now which God said that I should get what I want, when I want it, how I want it. But I was not rejected, because rejection is an English word that people make up to express a feeling when you don't get what you want. So give up the drama. You didn't reject me. The only one who can reject me is me. I just wanted something and I didn't get it. So don't make things so complicated or take things personally, and just feel good that you ask for what you wanted, and then you say a wonderful word after that. Next. That helped me survive Auschwitz, my curiosity. I wanted to know what's going to happen next.
Wow.
But you know, Hanselier told us that when we experience stress, there are two things that are happening automatically, be either fight or flee. That didn't work in Auschwitz, because if you touched the guard, you were shot. Right in front of me, I saw that. If you touched the barbed wire, you were electrocuted. And yes, I saw the blue bodies. So fight and flee is not working until you learn how to study the situation, to flow in that situation, and find a way to acknowledge that I could throw you in a gas chamber any minute. 4 o'clock in the morning, we did not know what's going to happen today. When we took a shower, we didn't know whether water or gas is going to come out. And this is what we're happening now here. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We were not prepared for this. And it's okay to be angry. It's not good to allow it, to lead it to resentment. Just remember, we either vent anger, we suppress anger, and the best is to dissolve the anger. It's okay to be angry. The question is how long you decide to hold on to it.
Very good. Good.
You talk about hope in your book, in both books actually, and how when you were at Auschwitz and there was someone else there, and once they lost hope, that's when they died. Did you always have that, like when you first went there, what was your mindset there, and how did you cultivate that hope, and how does it continue in your life today to continue that hope in different aspects of your life?
I had such a tremendous will to make it. I did not even consider ever, even though I was told every day that I'm never gonna allow it to save my life here, that the only way I will get out of here as a corpse. And I heard it every day. And I said to myself, I'm gonna make it. And I never ever gave up. So I decided that they were the prisoners, not me.
What did she say? She decided they were the prisoners, not her.
My curiosity really helped me to survive.
That's powerful.
So you have sisters and brothers, and
I do.
I
have
think-
one.
I think Aggie has a question.
Oh,
I just needed to unmute. It's really an honor to be part of this discussion tonight. I consider myself very lucky to be able to listen to your wisdom. And I have a question. I have not read your new book, but I actually just recently read The Choice and thoroughly enjoyed it, which is your life story, and it encompasses so many choices that you made in your life, but there's one that really stood out to me. And that was the choice. I remember you rescued Bella from the prison, and you had great plans to go to Israel to, for business, and, had everything set up. And the night before, you turned to him, and you had already gone to the American consulate, got the paperwork for you and your daughter Marianne to come to the United States. And all I can think of is, oh my God, that must have taken just enormous courage to make such a choice as that. And I think courage is one of those important, just beliefs, or principles that really guide so many of us. Can you speak a little bit about that decision and the courage that you had to summon to tell him, listen, I'm going to America. I'm taking Marianne. If you choose not to go and to continue to Israel, I'm okay. We're going to both be okay. But can you just speak to that courage maybe a little bit?
And they confiscated the business that was in that family for hundreds of years. And they threw my husband in jail. I didn't say, why me? I said, what now? And I went home and I took out my big diamond ring and I went to the jail. I put this in my little girl's diaper and I gave the big diamond ring to the warden. I smuggled my husband out and we ended up in Vienna at the Rothschild Hospital. And thank God my husband spoke fluently German, so they hired him in the office to work. And I was able to somehow recognize that you had to have certain things on a paper, and one of them was the question, did you ever have TB? And I met my husband in a TB hospital. So when I was at the university and I had a 4-point average, I was asked to go on 60 Minutes and talk about ethics. And I told them I don't qualify. And I told them the story that it's somebody else's X-ray that brought me to America. And I never asked America for anything. But I wanted to come to America because I was told by my girlfriend that in Israel people are now in the desert. And if I have a chance to take my child to America, I can do everything to make it happen. And that's what happened. I came to America. The worst thing I did, I threw out a pacifier because I was told that in America, babies are not allowed to do that. And I was so anxious to assimilate and be a Yankee Doodle dandy. And so a couple of years ago, I went back there with my daughter and she said, Mother, I already forgave you many times. Stop it. It's okay. She made it anyway. She's a brilliant psychologist. She consults with the NFL and she and I are writing a book now on recipes. So pretty soon you'll be able to read Hungarian goulash and chicken goulash. And she is a gourmet. I am just a cook. I cook well as long as someone cleans up after me.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed your response to my question. So thank you so much. I'll look forward to that book as well.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. We all will, Edie. And I think I wanted to ask a question. I know that we're drawing near to the end of our time together, but I did want to ask a question about our children now. I work in the education field and I travel all over the United States and teach essential life skills like how to have healthy relationships, how to manage our emotions, how to grow through difficulty, everything that you write about in The Choice and The Gift, actually. And I know that hasn't been the focus. Kids are very anxious. I've seen that. We have Edie, I took a bus and I wrapped it with the Choose Love message, and I've been on the road in New Hampshire. And so I'm literally out there with the kids, and there's a lot of pain. I wanted to ask you, fear, what you thought that we could do for our children. What's the best thing that we can do for them now, considering where we are in the history of mankind, what's going on around us, the level of anxiety, even in us big kids.
Children don't do what we say. They do what they see. I think your husband is a role model to the children. The way he treats your children's mother, and that's you. Love is not what you feel, is what you do. So don't preach to the children. They don't like that at all. But tell the children that we're born alone. And there is something between birth and death called life. And you ask them to stay in school, because the more pieces of paper you pick up in America, the more doors open up for you. And if you ever want to go to Stanford, start studying when you're 11 years old and set your priorities and give up the need for other people's approval of you. I think it's important for you to take life into your own hand, and knowing that there is no freedom without responsibility. It's anarchy. That is important. To give yourself permission to go with your husband, and if he wants to ask you to go dancing at a wedding, and you think that you cannot do that, I'm sure that your daughter would like you to
Her
have a full
son,
life.
her son.
Her son.
Yeah, her son.
It's okay, because I'm single anyway. I do what I want. I don't have to compromise. So there you go.
That is the son's father.
He's not in the picture.
But half of your son carries his blood.
That's true.
So we all have a way of living our lives. And I don't live in the past. I live in the present. I can only touch you now. So you may want to know how much time do you spend so you have a good balance between working, loving, and playing.
Very good.
Find a balance that you don't do anything in excess. There is no such thing as anxiety. It's your thinking anxiously. It's all in your thinking. I think it's very important to think about your thinking and see whether you can turn anxiety into excitement.
So good. Turning anxiety into excitement, using our thoughts.
Got it? What you think, you create.
What you think you create. That is amazing. And we are so grateful to you, Edie, for the gift that you are to all of us. This is such an appropriately named book. The Choice, the first one, which was a must read. We should have every teenager in the world. That should be mandatory reading. And every adult should read this.
In school, in school.
Yes, in school, because these are essential life skills, Edie, that you learned from your experience, but you don't necessarily have to be in a concentration camp. You can learn from somebody that survived and experienced post-traumatic growth and is using her experience to help us all.
Well, thank you for your courage not to forget or run from the past, that you're really carrying with you the hope, as I do, that will never happen again, anytime, anywhere. And let's hope that we can hold that little boy as a good example for us to learn that love can conquer all.
So beautiful. Thank you so much. And you are an example and model for all of us. We are so blessed to have had this time with you, and you've been so generous with us. Thank you so much, Edie. We love you so much. Every single person on here is so grateful for you, and we just thank you.
You, Wendy, Gina, Inessa, all of you, Gretchen, Camille, Lori, Jan. Thank you.
Thank you.
For being here and showing us that love is the answer.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're an awesome woman.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Love is the
Thank
answer.
you.
Thank you for
Thank
your
you.
gift. Thank you all. Thank you all for
Thank you.
joining us.
Thank you, Scarlett, for bringing this beautiful message to us.
Thank you, Connie, for bringing it to Canada.
Yes.
And thank you, Wendy, for bringing the message to Belize. Love you all.